As a knitter or a crocheter, the more you craft, the more you're going to find a lot of small tools and notions that you might want to make your whole process from start to finish a lot easier. One of these things is the Knit Picks View Sizer. Now this is kind of just look like a ruler, but it has a couple different features as well. You'll see along the right hand edge here, it has all these small to large holes. This is going to be so you can size your needles. So for example, if you have a pair of needles, this is just a Knit Picks interchangeable nickel plated needle tip I have here. Essentially all you do is you just slide your needle tip or your needle or crochet hook into the hole until you find one where it slides easily in and out of, and then you'll know it's an 8. It's really handy if, you just find a random pair of needles, you're not sure what size they are. It's good to double check on this view sizer. So that's one feature. Another feature is along the left-hand edge here, it's going to be a 6-inch ruler. This is going to be extremely useful when you're measuring your gauge, checking your swatches. That's going to be, all the way in the first step in the beginning parts of your project. The next step is that it will help you with is along this middle part here, it's actually a magnifying glass. That will help to enlarge your stitches so you can measure your gauge more accurately. There's going to be a fine red line within your magnifying glass section, and that actually measures out a 4-inch section for you. A lot of patterns say to measure your gauge over 4 inches. So if you're using this magnifying glass portion, it's just going to be really easy to fit your stitches within that red perimeter there, and then you can measure and get your gauge from there. And so, for example, I have this small swatch here. And again, but when you do your swatches, a lot of times patterns will say to block your swatch. And that's so you get an accurate reading of your swatch, because you're going to block your finished piece. And again, sometimes gauge doesn't matter, but when it does, it's really important. So you want to take your time to measure it. So I'm going to show you how to use this view sizer here to measure your gauge. First, you want to lay your swatch down nice and flat. Choose a portion of your swatch to measure your gauge on. Again, if you're using the center portion of the view sizer, you're going to see there's that long red bar and then the little vertical ends. That is going to let you take your gauge across 4 inches easily, and it's going to highlight your stitches a little bit larger. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to use this edge of the ruler here on the view sizer and count my stitches across 1 inch here. So I'm just going to go on this 1-inch measurement here and line that up with this column of stitches and then count across 1 inch. So I have 1 column of stitches here, 2, 3, 4, and then you see my inch measurement ends halfway in this stitch, in this column of stitches. You want to take that into consideration for your gauge. So in this case, my swatch measures 4.5 stitches in 1 inch. Again, for a little bit more accuracy, you can count your edge, across 4 inches, either on the ruler edge, or if you want to highlight and enlarge your stitches, you can use this magnifying piece. And then you would use all your stitches that you counted in that 4-inch measurement, and then you simply divide it by 4 to get your stitches per inch. You want to make sure to read the end portion of that section. It doesn't matter if it's a half stitch or a quarter stitch, you want to take that into account, especially if you're doing a larger project like a sweater. That half stitch per inch can make a big difference over a large circumference. So again, if you have, say, 4.5 stitches and you're just getting half a stitch at the edge of that, that's okay. It doesn't have to be a whole number. So again, this small tool, it's super handy. It does a couple different things, and it's really going to help you. Just throw it in your project bag, maybe have one in your project bag, one with your other crafting supplies. It's going to be really handy. So this is the Knit Picks View Sizer.